So that's how we saw our folks coping with pressure, depression, whatever. Just you go and you're comforted in the bar. So of course now now we are adults, that's what we know. We go to what we saw. It was modeled to us. Then our kids now, the younger generation as well. And we've seen it's even worse with the younger generation because that's all they know. Any form of pain, black it. Just to cope. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism, I would say.
Hi guys, my name is Vivian and I'd like to welcome you to the Art, Heart and Heart podcast. This is a brand new episode of the podcast and I'm so happy that you guys will be joining us for this. And the podcast will just be able to represent all your ideas and notions of how you view art, how if you do it with your heart, and the areas and spaces that it has also hurt you. So hapo nimewarahisishia iyo tongue twister, yeah? And alongside myself is a very lovely Pastor Lydia Ngina. I am privileged and honored that she's also a friend of mine. And she'll just be helping us navigate this space and leading us more into the truth, especially in an era whereby we live my truth, your truth, their truth, our truth, his truth. You know, it's a little bit confusing. So today we are getting into the real truth. So Pastor Lydia, maybe you can just introduce yourself so people can get to know who you are and what you do and just...
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So my name is Lydia Ngina. I consider myself to be a life coach, an encourager, a midwife, and an optimist. And I've been a pastor for the last 12 years or so. I started when I was 28 and now I'm 41. Can you believe it? So and one of my journeys, one of my passions is the whole idea of transformation from a biblical perspective. What does that look like? How do you evolve? How do you deal with pain? How do you deal with just life on its own and relationships more so? So yeah, that's what I'm passionate about and I've been doing for the last 12 years or so.
Fantastic. I think for a lot of us, even before we get into it, like anytime we hear Christian believer, we just feel like uo ni holier than thou, holy of holies, ako mahali uo anaongeleshangwa na watu wengine, sio mtu kama mimi, you know. And I think just what I'd like to tell you who's watching that please don't get out of that seat. This podcast will impact your life in a very, very big way because I feel like the conversation about God is very simple, but I think religion has managed to confuse a lot of us, you know, because growing up it was like maybe you need to wear a long dress. You couldn't even dress like this to church. But sisi dio tuko.
Sisi ndio wale.
Excuse me, sisi dio tuko. Tuko na vipara, tuko na nywele ya yellow, you know. So you who's watching, you know, please don't leave that place. And we just want to talk about some very real topics and we're just going to get straight to it. Yeah. So we want to talk about addiction. The topic of addiction is very rife in the society today. Of course, there are a lot of things that lead to that space. But maybe just so that you are able to lead us into that space, would you say that we are an addicted society?
I think we've become an addicted society because it was modeled to us. If you remember our parents, when they would come from home, this ad that would say mbili mbili kama kawaida. On your way home, stop by and take 2 or 3 beers and then go home. And the principle is monkey see, monkey do. You know? So that's how we saw our folks coping with pressure, depression, whatever. Just you go and you're comforted in the bar. So of course now now we are adults. That's what we know. We go to what we saw. It was modeled to us. Then our kids now, the younger generation as well. And we've seen it's even worse with the younger generation because that's all they know. Any form of pain, black it. Just to cope. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism, I would say.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, from what I'm getting from what you're sharing is that I don't think anyone initially wants to become an addict. I don't think there's anyone who starts taking drugs or starts taking alcohol or just starts into that part of whatever substance you're using, in order to become an addict. It's usually just like a pastime, a way of socialization. But I would imagine, maybe if I could just give my own experience of it, I think I was introduced to alcohol in my early 20s. And it was just like, sherehe, whatever. So you have a bottle of Smirnoff Ice or, because those were the more feminine drinks. But right now, as I get into my 30s, I am currently in a space where I don't take alcohol. But I have taken alcohol for many years. Probably must be more than 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because I started as a joke. Yeah, like you're going on a date, you go for a movie and then you go somewhere, you have a drink.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I've seen the effects of that even in my life. And let's not even add the fact that now I got into the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So as a musician, serving in the music space for 8 years, alcohol in the music space and the creative space is like ni kama maji ya kunywa,
readily available.
It's readily available. People even won't buy food, but they'll always buy alcohol, and you're having a session, like I was telling guys earlier, I have more than 30 songs, right? Collaborations, singles, so many, like I'm just all over the place, obviously because of the span of time that I've served in that space. So getting into studio, you have a session, Mzinga, Vivian, we need some kind of energy, tunataka uache kuwa tense, ujiachilie, kunywa shot, and then, it just becomes like part of that space, And of course now, not only alcohol, there's weed, there's all kinds of things. In fact, maybe I don't even know all the details. Maybe someone can also, kama mpenzi mtazamaji, zile dawa za kulevya ambazo unajua, please write them in the comments. Well, we're not encouraging guys to know about.
No,
but we need to know what people are struggling with, because I think it goes above and beyond, because I know nowadays there are also pills, to sort of like calm you down, to make you feel like you're floating. Kuna masupu watu wanakunywa, mimea, you boil, there's a lot, but it's rough, man.
But my question would be, what are they masking? Because that's an unhealthy coping. What are you unmasking? And there's a place where you get to and you're unable to deal. You just freeze. And you'd rather not deal and just mask it and just, move on. So that's the thing alcohol does. It sedates you. It causes you to just not process. And we are that generation that is not able to process, especially pain and discomfort. I was being told as well as statistic that we are the first generation to have what we call painkillers. We are the first generation to actually experience painkillers because we want to silence the pain as soon as possible. So my thing is, then that means that there's a lot of pain that needs to be addressed, and then finding now from the spiritual space as a pastor, now figuring out what's the philosophical base to now help people process pain, because it has to be processed. It has to be processed in a healthy way and find healthier coping skills.
Right.
Healthier coping skills, because currently, I mean, that's life. You will always deal. There's always going to be something that you're dealing with. So the idea is to find healthier coping skills, relationships, finding comfort in relationships, seeing a therapist who will help you understand what the pain did to you. Because the thing about pain as well, it shapes how you see the world, how you see yourself, but also how you see the world and how you show up. Because it actually affects your mindset. And that's what we don't realize.
Right.
That as we sit, say for example, in anger and bitterness, you sit there, fine, you're angry, but over time it begins to shape how you show up, shape how you treat yourself. You treat yourself with such meaning.
It's like a cancer.
Yes.
So it eats you all. It takes precedence over your body
and
and your mind, and you're not seeing it.
It's not a condition that you're seeing. It's not a condition you can see physically. When you cut yourself, you can see it. But this one, it's internally. It's doing stuff on the inside of you. It's just messing you inside. So,
but I think from when you asked, like, what pain are we masking? I think also culturally, perhaps in Kenya and in Africa, Africa, I don't know, but just if you were to look even at as us as Kenyans, we don't have hard conversations. No. Unajua kila kitu inakuanga chini ya maji. Unajua kuna ule uncle yako ni mlevi anakuanga ametupa mbao, but watu wanasemanga tu huyo tigana nake huyo ni mreu, what is a drunkard, I'm just talking in regards to because it's the truth, so we don't try and understand why is that person an alcoholic. It's like huo ni mlevi, achana na yeye. But I think in fact sometimes the people who take the alcohol the most are the ones who don't know how to be hypocritical. So they are feeling the pain, but because they can't share it with anyone. Because ukienda kuongelesha mtu anakuambia sasa hizo nini, chana hizo story, so also sweeping under the rug. So we are not dealing. So also as a culture, growing up, we didn't have hard conversations. Like and a lot of things happened. It's life happens. So even an example, maybe you were assaulted when you were a child, you were molested, or you went through a negative sexual encounter and you were never able to share it. You never felt comforted. You never, like, your story ilikanyagiwa. In fact, it's even worse because usiambie watu hiyo maneno. Hiyo ni maneno, inaitangwa nini? Not airing your dirty linen.
Yes. And I remember my own experience there. So for 2 years, I was kicked out of home, just figuring out the journey of pastoral calling and, So at the age of 14, I sensed the call of God. It's a sense, it's discerned. The call of God is discerned. So I discerned it when I was 14. So after high school, I didn't do very well. I got D for divine. Hallelujah.
Wow.
Never mind. So my dad was of the idea that I should go back to school and repeat the session. So I said, no, I'm not into that idea. So that began a very tense journey with my dad. He kicked me out of his house for 2 years, 2 good years as a teenager. And the thing that as you're talking, because we don't know how to deal with pain, there was never conversation to see, how are you doing? Are you okay? Psychologically, emotionally. It's those things that unasemanga tu mtoto wako amepotea. But you're not putting in as a parent the effort to come and find out, how are you doing? Can we help you? What do you need? So if you see, if now my folks came around and supported me, it would have turned out very differently. But anyway, all things do work together for good, because now I'm 41 and I'm better, and I'm, the journey of healing and reconciliation has taken part. But it's been my part to feel my pain, to figure out my own pain, deal with it, overcome it, and just forgive, go through the upheaval of emotions. It's just a roller coaster of emotions for a long time. And it was worse because then I am stepping into something that I can't define. I don't know what I'm doing. So I can't say that I am doing this. It's unknown. And my folks are looking at me, because now at a teenager, you're looking at your daughter, your firstborn daughter, and wondering, what is she doing? So at the same time, now my peers were progressing into marriage, campus students, and becoming, getting employed, getting their material stuff together. Meantime, I feel like I'm stuck. And I was for a long time just figuring out, what do I do? Who do I consult? Who do I call? Who is this God? What is he about? What is he doing in me? What is doing through me? But thankfully, through the help of mentors, just teachers, I met one of my mentors. First, my own pastor, Pastor Peter Odera. I met him when I was 23. Then I met my other, I call him my spiritual mentor, Dave Mavia. At 20, I was probably in my 30s. I was probably 31. I think I was 31. And sitting under that teaching, sitting under there and relearning and calling out. You see, the vision is within me. It's not even mentally, so to speak. It's actually inside. It's so much deeper. The calling of God is so much, it's inside, deep within you, that it takes a wise woman. It takes, like what the Bible says, the counsel removes. The good counsel is what chucks that thing. So sitting under this teaching helped me define and help me process and understand, this is what my voice represents. This is what my voice represents. So I think even as we're talking about some substance abuse, is to sit in it, figure out why are you addicted, and begin a journey of intentional healing and pursuit, where you sit with someone for years. It will take time. It takes time to build conviction.
And we don't like taking time.
It takes time to build conviction.
We don't like that going through the process.
No.
We just want to stop the alcohol because, nowadays, even like if you have challenges with substance abuse, you're given more substances to help you to stop taking the substances.
Yeah.
Like look at the,
shortcut.
It doesn't even make sense. You're given another substance to help you stop taking a substance. And it's a little bit, there's something about that that's not 100%. Yeah. But now for you never had any challenges with substance, or you were never.
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
I'm completely agree. No.
Okay. But I think what you're trying to say is that if we have someone who's watching and they have a problem with substance or alcohol or weed or, whatever it is, pills, guys, where unajijua pali uko, this is your space, right? What maybe would be some of the step-by-step, maybe daily things that they could do to help? I could share some of the things I've done, to be able to just move out of that space. Nilijiita mikutano kama Vivian, nikajipeleka kwa corner. But first, before I get into it, maybe whoever is watching, where can they start from?
So it's interesting you say that, because even in the space of addiction, we all live in our own worlds. You have a world that you dwell in, and I have a world that we dwell in.
Yeah.
Even those who are addicted, they have a world they dwell in. So it's to figure out that world. Number one, for me, I had to do is self-talk, how you talk to yourself. Because the minute you get into that space and you want alcohol, you have to remind yourself that it's a bad thing. Remind yourself it's a bad habit. So number one is thinking. And thinking is also dependent on what you're feeding your mind on.
Or like what you're watching. If you're always watching people partying, follow to all the ratchet clubs in Nairobi. Tunaonanga zile vitu mnapost. Unaona tu watu wamekelea mizinga tano, you will not be able to stop. So what you consume, right? So change, be deliberate about changing what you consume.
Very intentional.
What you watch,
who you hang out with, your friends.
Oh yeah, your friends.
Your
drinking buddies.
Yeah.
There's like when we were in class, when we were studying about addiction in the psychology class, and it was like, some clients will come and tell you, unajua mimi hii ulevi nitaacha, I'll just be going with my friends lakini mimi nakunywa soda. So we were being told not to fall for that, because
it's a slippery slope.
It's a downward slippery slope, because we are social creatures. So when you go somewhere and then people who drink are very generous. Watakwambia kunywa tu shot moja. Ati umeacha pombe. That's what people say. So you have to sort of like be ready also to set yourself apart.
Yeah, pay the price. There's a price to pay. There's a price to pay. And there are some who happen supernaturally. And I've worked with some people who have been delivered instantly. And it ends.
Wow.
The desire ends immediately.
Right.
But there are those who it's just a process. A process that you have to change your habits as well. Habits where you dwell not just physically but also mentally, where you're at your mental space. So it also requires that you grow your mind. It requires that you change your habits, your eating habits, your social habits. So that's the price you have to pay.
Maybe like even get a new hobby.
You
can start hiking. You can start, like for me, I started hiking. Just sometimes because I like outdoors and all these things. But my own personal journey of how I was able to completely let go of alcohol, because I think for about, it's not been that long, but I guess it's long enough, probably 3 months now. I just made a resolution, because the mapping out of who I want to be and some of the things I want to do has no space for alcohol consumption. Plus I'm also a mother. So I didn't want for my daughter to see my consumption of wine. That's another thing. The wine culture. The wine culture has really been sold to us as women. Like after a long hard day, reward yourself with a glass. Wanaoneshanga glass, they make it look nice, But in reality, that chick has a bottle. Hata yo glasi alishatupa huko. They're on their fourth bottle. Yani is gangster, man. So also the wine culture. That's something I feel like we also need to address because, women now, so many of us are independent. They are smart. They are aggressive. They have the resources. Unajua, they can afford it. But there are consequences that come with that space. Yeah. Of course, the hangover, then wasting the money. And then, it just drags you behind. I don't know, maybe also we can highlight some of the negative consequences of being an avid drug consumer. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, ultimately it wastes your time and resources and friendships as well, your relationships as well. So I think those two, and time is one of those things that unless there's a supernatural intervention to redeem time, you
can't get it back.
Can't get it back unless now. Then resources, you end up spending so much time in your 20s and 30s. The time you're 50, you have no resource, you've not saved because you're trying to keep up with this life. It's an expensive lifestyle.
Yeah.
It is an expensive lifestyle. So those two things come to mind at the forefront of my mind, like relationships and time.
Yeah. Kwanza hiyo, like me, I wonder, okay, I don't know, maybe I'm the one who's poor, but like if you're going to the club and you're buying Mzinga for 8,000,
imagine,
boss,
Buddha.
Hey.
When mdosi, when sauce.
Hey. As in, if you were to save 8,000 per week for a year, as in, you wouldn't even be living in a rental.
That's why we have now a debt culture, because it's easier now to get money on your phone and whatever. So you borrow to sustain a lifestyle that's not sustainable at all.
So pesa za fuliza zote zinaendaga kwa Mzinga. I hear that, as in fuliza money, people don't fuliza for anything meaningful. Statistically,
that's why
people fuliza for drinks, for, and I think also there's something that comes also with so much drug consumption. Even how you eat becomes lazy, if you're eating, sasa unapata by the time mtu ako 35 ako na gout, and let me tell you, if you're watching this and you're in your 20s and you're thinking, me, I still have time, sweetheart, please come here. You don't have time.
No, you don't.
You don't have, and the sooner you're able to stop this, the better it works.
Yeah.
I think one of the final things, as we wrap up these things, one of the final things that I would probably like to address as regards addiction. We've met people, and we know a lot of people, especially in the creative arts, who struggle with alcohol, and there are people who feel like, kasija pewa shot, if I'm not high or whatever, I can't function.
You can't create.
What maybe is it like, for me, I also had my own personal spiritual encounter, whereby I just felt like what God has called me to be, because I was telling guys earlier in the other room when I was getting my makeup done that I quit my music career every year. I've been there 8 years. I quit every year. I quit.
I hear you though.
Because that space is not easy. Yeah, it requires me to be very level-headed and all those things. And for people who are trying to join the music space and they're getting into the culture of alcohol and substance, and they're trying to fit in, they're trying to, especially that fitting in thing, they're trying to belong, they're trying to be accepted. Also people are afraid of being alone. Because also alcohol and drugs in Kenya is also used as a socialization tool, house parties. So it's a social structure. Maybe how would you talk to people, like someone who's very driven, who knows what they want in life, but they're struggling with drug abuse, and that space is sort of like almost stealing their lives away from them? I don't know, maybe just some parting words for them, because I know people are afraid of being lonely. Because you're in your 20s, you're just in a new job, you want to fit into your job space, you want to feel accepted. So how do I keep away from alcohol but also not drown in loneliness?
The thing that comes to mind is a quote by Joel, what's this guy, iPod guy, this Apple guy, what's his face, founder, Steve Jobs,
said the power of vision is that it pulls you from where you are.
That's what, because you've just given the example. It's because you began to see who you are designed to be.
Yeah.
That desire, that vision pulled you out of some of those bad habits, unhealthy habits. Let me just call them unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is to begin to develop a vision for your life, who you want to be. And that vision on itself, it will pull you out of even your own mistakes, your own weaknesses, your own, it just does something to you. But just having a vision just does something to you. It's a brilliant way to, it changes your relationships, it changes your language, just puts very unknown pressure to you.
So people shouldn't be afraid of being lonely.
No.
It's the right people. God will give you the right people.
He will.
Perhaps.
And if you're on a journey, meaningful journey, it begins by being lonely, because you're also trying to figure out your space. So there's that price you have to pay.
You can't figure yourself out in a group.
No, it won't work.
It's a high road.
In as much as, you have to understand as well, in as much as the paradox of being human is that you are an individual and a member of a community. That's the standard, that every time you're an individual and a member of a community, the idea is to work on your individualism, figure out who you are as an individual, so that when you show up in a community or in a space, you show up as a healthier person, whole person, and you're adding value to any space that you find yourself in.
And is alcohol or drugs, are they mentioned anywhere in the Bible? Maybe so that
in Proverbs,
all right,
Proverbs, actually, if you're interested. This was the wisest man, and Solomon. He was just discovering, and
right,
said, a king is not supposed to be given into this whole idea of drinking and drugs.
Ulevi, in short.
Ashana nayo.
Right. I think wow. I mean, if you're watching this and you perhaps have had your own struggles with alcohol abuse, or you know someone, or you have a child, or you have just someone in your life who's struggling with addiction, I believe we can even find help. I'll try and reach out to some resources from the counseling center where I'm doing my psychology studies, and just share contacts, so that also sometimes you need to be guided through therapy, and just to understand that it's a journey, and you're still loved.
Yes, there's no condemnation.
Yeah,
it's
you're not
a message of condemnation.
Yes, because also that has been ingrained a lot. Like, if you're an alcoholic, you're useless, and it's not. It's just something that you need to get past. It's like how you can lose someone and you're grieving. Doesn't mean you are a pessimistic person. No. You're just going through something. And as you said in the beginning, we need to identify what is the pain, because addiction is a result of pain.
Yeah, it's a symptom.
Whoa, that was so lovely.
Thank you,
Pastor El. I hope this will help you who's watching, and we still love you, and all the best in your journey wherever you're watching us from. And we will be having more Art and Heart episodes coming up soon. Thank you so much. Ciao.